Steve, I do want to start with these numbers. We pay attention to these fundraising numbers, and some people at home might be looking at the television and thinking, why? It's a lot of money. Everyone's got a lot of money. Why are these numbers such valuable information for us?
Well, they do tell you something about the state of each campaign, the energy they're generating, especially among donors, sometimes big donors, sometimes small dollar donors. But I have to say, when it comes to sort of the all-important role of fundraising, I'm a little bit more on the skeptical side when it comes to this stuff. I look at it this way. I don't think there is anything wrong with anybody's fundraising that a strong performance in Iowa, New Hampshire, in the early states wouldn't make right. And I don't think there is anything right with anybody's fundraising numbers that a poor performance in those early states would make wrong. We have seen this before. I remember the all-powerful Howard Dean fundraising machine came roaring into 2004. He had the money to go the distance. He fell flat in his face in Iowa, and all that money counted for nothing. I remember John Kerry coming into that year with no money. He had to take out a $6 million mortgage against his own property in Boston to keep his campaign alive. He won Iowa, and everything took care of itself. I look at all these candidates. They have the money to compete in Iowa. They have the money to compete in New Hampshire. They've got to win, or they've got to do well, be seen as doing well in those states. And I think the rest of it starts taking care of itself.
Matt, I think that makes a lot of sense.
It does. And I work for Jeb Bush. I know a little something about money and how far it can take you. And what I'm also looking at right now is not just how much you've raised, but what's your cash on hand, right?
Joe Biden
had a very high burn rate last time. And is now we're getting to the point where votes are being cast. You need to spend that money. And no one leaves the race just because they want to. Nine times out of 10 is because they run out of money. Even Jeb Bush did at the end. So who's spending the money? Where are they spending it? And more importantly, how much do they have left?
I think it also tells us a little bit, though, about excitement for a candidate. Bernie Sanders was somebody who was, I don't want to say flying under the radar because that's not giving him enough credit, but somebody who maybe wasn't as highly targeted by the other candidates so far in the race. But he's raised over $30 million. It is a ton of money from small donations. I think it's 1.8 million donors or something like that. That's a lot of excitement for a Sanders candidacy heading into Iowa. What do you make of it?
Yeah, absolutely. This quarter was, this definitely put it cemented Bernie Sanders' status as a front runner. When we look at Iowa and New Hampshire, it's basically turning out to be a four-way pileup. Between Sanders and Biden and Pete Buttigieg and Elizabeth Warren. I will say that it seems like both Biden and Sanders could have a path to the nomination, even if they don't have first-place finishes in those first two states. But Buttigieg and Warren, maybe not so much.
Hello, YouTubers. If you're watching this, it means you've checked out our channel, so thank you. Now do me a favor, subscribe by clicking on that button down there. Click on any of the videos to watch the latest interviews and highlights from MTP Daily and MSNBC. You can get more Beat the Press content every morning in the First Read newsletter. If you're tired of content that you don't know anything about where it came from, you don't have to have that problem with us. NBC News, MSNBC, MTP, and the Meet the Press mindset right here for you on YouTube. Subscribe now.